This is a bicycle with two chains. It turns out this is the most reliable, easily serviced way of creating a rugged bike with two gears that's needed in parts of Africa, South America and Asia. This is the new version of the Buffalo bike from World Bicycle Relief.
Meet the new Buffalo Utility S2 with a groundbreaking two-speed, two-chain drivetrain. At the heart of this heavy-duty utility machine is a new, patented, two-speed switchable freewheel with two cogs, each paired with a chain ring via a single speed chain.
It caused a small sensation in Putney. The team from the Clubhouse Cafe and Bike Shop were keen to try it. The film of how this Buffalo was built will be screened here tonight. We're beside the River Thames. That will become important soon. And I'm learning more about World Bicycle Relief from the UK Managing Director, Ben Sadler.
I think for me, the way I always look at it is this thing around like reducing the distance between people and opportunity. You imagine like if there's a girl who has to walk 10 kilometres to school, back and forth every day, obviously there's challenges with that, and you introduce a bicycle and suddenly that distance just reduces. And you have all these exciting bits of impact happen as a result. So in that case, it might be that suddenly the attendance of that student goes up, their academic achievement goes up, they have more time to socialise, more time to be with their family, and that's all driven by having access to a bicycle, essentially.
So let's see how this thing rides. The idea is it's in one gear, you back pedal, and then it goes into another. Oh wow, it just changes like that. Now Ben's not a big cyclist, but he rode it down here from King's Cross, he said. Oh yeah. And he said it's really good. You rock up to the traffic lights, just pedal backwards a little bit, and you're in a different gear. And that's a great way of doing it. So it might be something, you never know, that takes off on city bikes here. They've certainly patented the idea, and that makes a bit sense. It'd be fascinating, wouldn't it, if a design for the wildest parts of the world ended up being really useful in cities. Actually feels a bit like a Dutch bike too. Very good city riding position.
We did originally not have our own bicycle.
I like this.
And I think listening to the need of those that use it, we were able to realise, we actually had to develop something together with communities.
So in the past you were just shipping that out, donated bikes?
Well, not so much donated bikes, but certainly bicycles, bicycles that weren't Buffaloes. And then it was really, we had to create something that was far more durable, that was suitable for the environments and the purposes that it was being used for. And the Buffalo, the design of it has developed over years. So we have many test riders that are, every day of the year are feeding back how the bicycle's working, all the different components, and that enables the team to be able to, continue to develop every part of it. And that's really where the S2 comes from. We've had a single speed bike for a very long time, and there are reasons for that. A lot around the maintenance of it. It's very easy to look after. It doesn't break, and the S2 is our first bike it's a two-speed, which is exciting. But of course, as soon as you introduce gears, you can have some challenges with maintenance and challenge with it braking. So this has taken a long time to develop.
Why is it done that way with two chains? I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that is all to do with, I guess I might go on to this, but in terms of that, the importance of it being able to be maintained very simply, and also like what tools you have access to, and this gear system, it's incredibly durable, it's easy to look after, it's all kind of done with one tool, so it means it's going to last for a long time.
It's really important, it struck me, that you guys don't just, it's not the West just giving to your program countries. It's very much a two-way street in terms of design and what's needed. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
That's it. I think with World Bicycle Relief, and I think with many organisations in the charity sector, it's really important that you respond to need, and of course that need is, you find out that need from those that are going to use it. It's not about me saying I think they need this.
Yeah.
The design of the bicycle already is something that's been developed in partnership with a number of different organisations, but driven by those that use it. The bicycle itself is obviously very durable and will last a long time, but one of the things actually that drew me to the organisation was the ecosystem that surrounds the bicycle. So this is where you're training local mechanics, it's where you're opening shops, so there's easy access to spare parts. It's where you're setting up what we call bicycle supervisory committees, which are local people that lead on how the bicycle is distributed, how it's used, all these kind of things. So it's all locally led, and that's what makes the Buffalo sustainable and last a long time. And it's not for me to develop programs for a rural area in Kenya. My expertise is is partnership building in the UK. So that's my role. We have teams in Kenya, we have teams in Zimbabwe that are focused on program delivery, on monitoring evaluations. So it's about working out who's best placed, and that's what makes an organisation sustainable.
Those partnerships are clearly demonstrated in the film I'm back to watch in the evening. It's called Building the Buffalo. It's a fascinating story and why I chose to support this charity, which has been running for 20 years.
So it started back in 2005 with FK Day and Leah Misbach Day, who were in around the Indian Ocean during the tsunami, and speaking to communities. Kind of together they realised actually one of the big challenges was being able to connect communities, to go and see people, to be able to access services like education, healthcare. And because of course the tsunami had caused so many issues with infrastructure, people just weren't able to do it. And it was actually bicycles that then suddenly enabled to connect those communities. So in 2005 they were able to distribute 24,000 bicycles. And alongside that, something really important is they were able to measure the impact. So they were able to look at suddenly this huge increase in people being able to get to education, to school, a huge increase in being able to access healthcare, to access other vital services. And it was like, oh, hang on, this is something that could work in other communities as well. So yeah, that's how it all started, and that's how we're here today.
But it must have been a big step from going in to provide emergency relief to going, hang on a second, we can do this in South America, we can do this right throughout Africa, we can do this in other parts of Asia. That must have been a huge challenge, really. Do you know how they did it? I mean, I know you're only in the organisation for 6 months, so you weren't there at the time. But yeah, do you know what the story is, them taking it through there?
I think that the big part of it is partnerships. So kind of going back to that point around our need, it wasn't about the group saying, oh, we're going to go to this country and just do it here. It was actually talking to NGOs, to government, to community organisations, and finding out where this kind of intervention would work. And it's with those, those reliable partnerships and the setup of the BSCs, these Bicycle Supervisory Committees, that have enabled it to grow alongside, obviously the expertise of FK and Leah.
70% of the African continent live in the rural setup and have no access to mobility. It is that group of people that we feel have been left behind. We want more bicycles in the hands of the people who so need them, in terms of the 3 thematic areas, which is health, livelihoods, and education.
We're approaching now 1 million bicycles, so we're on about 830,000 bicycles that have been distributed since opening. So that's a lot of people that have been mobilised. So we look at kind of, on average, our bicycle reaches at a minimum of 5 people, which is normally a household. So when you've got a student and a sibling that are using it to get to and from school, you might have a parent that's using it to access healthcare. You might have a parent who's using it to support the business. So it's got many uses within
the family vehicle.
Exactly, yeah. And it's bringing that opportunity closer.
And how do they get the vehicle? How do they get the bike? I mean, do they have to buy it? What's the deal?
So that's really, it's an interesting area. So that there are a number of ways essentially, and it's led by those Bicycle Supervisory Committees. So that's where all of the key ideas come, particularly around distribution. So, in the first instance, yes, you can. Bikes are donated. So you'll have, as an example, within the education sector, we will donate bicycles to schools, and that bicycle is owned by the school. And then imagine, these buffaloes that will last for 12, 15, even 20 years. They're going to carry, 4 or 5 students through their entire education, which is exciting.
Generations.
Exactly. So you've got that, which is what we call kind of a philanthropic bike. You've got partnership bikes, so that's where we'll work with organisations like, say, the Red Cross in Uganda, that have thousands of healthcare workers that are needing to get out into rural areas and meet with patients, and that's where we'll share. So we'll donate some into that, but they'll also purchase them. And then kind of going into, I think the way that international development is working, like philanthropic donations are still very important, but also what other ways can you scale your impact? So one of those is around what we call incentivized sales. So if you imagine you've got let's say a savings group of 10 entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their business. The bicycle's proven to help increase income. So they can come to us and say, look, we've got enough to say buy 2 or 3 bicycles. We'll say, brilliant, tell you what, if you can buy 3, we'll give you 7. So you've got that incentivized sales. Then you can also buy it. So again, if people are able to, they can. And also if you aren't able to afford the full amount up front, so it's £120 for a bicycle, you are able to, well, we're starting to explore different kind of financial models where you can perhaps basically pay in installments across 6 months, a year. So trying to think of many different ways that someone could get hold of a buffalo.
It's not our job to make our product successful. It's our job to make the people that ride the bike successful.
So my background is commuting as a cyclist, but I guess my expertise is around like international development in the charity sector. So that's key with World Bicycle Relief, is you bring in people who have that specific expertise for certain areas. So we do have engineers that, of course, they're the experts in the cycling side. We do have our program experts and our monitoring elevation experts who are in country, in Kenya, in Zambia, in Ghana, sorry, not Ghana, in Zimbabwe, etc., who are experts in program delivery and monitoring elevation. Then people like myself, my background is partnership building, which is why kind of my role here is in the UK.
Does politics get in the way here when you're working in countries, different countries? It's bound to a certain extent, both in this country, I suppose, as well as where the program countries are.
Yeah, it can do. I mean, it goes back to like when we think about sustainability. I mentioned earlier about partnerships and how important that is. And for us, like, government is a vital partner. Like, if you're looking at scaling impact and long-term sustainability, you want to be working with the Ministry of Education. You want to be working with the Ministry of Health. Of course, like, changing governments can challenge that, but ultimately, our goal when working in a country is to partner with, be it NGOs, community organisations, but government is also a priority as well.
Them on side.
Yeah, because that's the thing that's going to change it long term. Yeah, it's key.
You talked about getting the feedback, and that was at the start. How do you know you are doing good?
Yeah, good question. Another thing that actually led me to the organisation is they've been very strong over the years on monitoring elevation. So we have our own impact teams that are out in the field, talking to bicycle users, finding out exactly what difference it's making in their lives. So we've got some amazing impact information around, mentioned earlier about access to education. We know from a kind of an entrepreneurial point of view, it can help generate more income. From a healthcare point of view, you've got healthcare workers that are suddenly able to reach more patients than they were before. And that all comes from our amazing monitoring elevation teams based in each country. We also work very closely with, we work with independent evaluators that are able to come in and provide independent research reports. We've actually got one, I can't say too much about it because it's not officially public yet, but we've got one that's just about to come out, which is a 2-year research piece where we had a control group in a particular community. So half were given a bicycle and half weren't. And there's some really interesting findings, because of course they're all essentially in similar situations. So we're able to see exactly what the bicycle, what the difference it had on those lives.
Oh, the classic study, you've got control group. Yeah,
exactly.
Have you got any preliminary results from that?
I basically unfortunately can't say anything at the moment. So they will be live in the next 2-3 weeks. But I can say there's a lot of evidence there that shows it is increasing income, it's increasing resilience, it's increasing access. So some really interesting findings.
Well, when you put out a press release on that, I'll make sure it goes in the show notes that accompany this podcast. Tell me about the film that's premiering tonight here at the Clubhouse.
Yeah, so we've got a new documentary film, Building the Buffalo, and that basically tells the story of the Buffalo bicycle, and particularly the new S2 and how that's come to be. So like all of the research, I mentioned the test riders, and it will show the viewers tonight exactly, why the bicycle is there, the impact it can make, and also like the long-term plans for the organisation, how we want to be able to essentially give access to more people or increase access to more people.
If you're watching the video carefully, you might have seen someone clearing up behind us.
If people are watching, can they see the tide here? It is actually creeping up on us here. And we're going to have to stop now because any moment now this is all going to flood.
The River Thames occasionally floods this road to considerable depth. The cafe has to close flood doors and we had to leave.
So thanks a lot, Ben. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Bit shorter than I planned, but that actually is getting quite close.
Links to World Bicycle Relief and its new film are in the video description and show notes. I'm Simon Willis. Thank you for watching and listening. Goodbye.